something happened with the
All right, we're getting the stream going.
but here I'll try to find the images. Jupiter.
Yeah, WinJupos is amazing.
Um,
Have you
it said,
used, I don't know if anyone else has used it. I know some people in the club use it, but
Yeah, I
Joe
mean,
Lamb, I think, uses it to get really nice Jupiter pictures.
it's been a while since I've used it, so I have to refamiliarize myself, so I can't advise you on it.
But yeah, if you sh share what you're showing, if you're doing over a short time,
can I have
oh
hold?
yeah, yeah, that's me. I got you.
Okay.
Make you a co-host.
I'm surprised there's not a setting that can share screen without making people
I think
I
co-hosts.
know
there
what you
is
mean.
somewhere. I forget where. It
All
doesn't look too
right.
bad, Xander.
So this
Okay.
so this is the data itself. This is
The
a
video.
55-second video. I think I have more because
And what's the format? Are these AVIs or
I have no clue. It's in
You
media.
got one of the moons too.
it's an
Yeah.
AVI file? Okay,
I
Maybe,
think
perfect.
yeah.
later, I think I have the picture itself up here, and I was kind of happy with it. Oh, I'm struggling here. There's so many
One
pieces.
of the things I would have done a little bit different, Xander. See all the black area you have?
Oh, hey.
Oh yes, dude. What are you complaining about? That's great.
Well, I figured that there's not a lot of detail like down here, or
Right.
is that a shadow you think?
I see what you're saying in the
It could be a
corner.
shadow of a moon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's what
what
I'm
I would
trying to
have
see.
done is tighten this up even more so you'd be able to get more frames per second.
Yeah, and this is only with a two times Barlow as well. Actually, that's
You
probably fine.
It's
you
probably
could
okay.
yeah, you could still make the look at all the black you have.
Yeah.
You can decrease that area because the less data you have to like even exclude the moons,
Really.
within that area, reduce that by I don't know 3 times, maybe 4 times. Um, that way,
Hey,
you're
Doug, we're live,
you're
by the
able to go
way.
much faster when you're collecting the data,
Yeah.
and so you'll be able to get better quality images.
Yeah, and this is on my little laptop too, so it was I've got a new computer since, but the I had to switch it over and that takes a while too to switch it from one computer to another computer. I don't know if there's a way to like directly put it because I can't really move. This is like a desktop. I don't know if
Oh
I can
yeah.
move that.
Copying the files, you mean?
Yeah, but when I was out there, I was taking I think something like 40 frames a second.
You got
Okay.
to do like 150,
Yeah. So
two hundred.
I should be having a lower resolution because I think I have a ZWO ASI something
Hmm. Have
two.
you, what's the software you're using for your capture?
I switched from using the ZWO cap thing
Hmm.
that comes with the thing to using I think Sharp Cap.
Oh, good. So
Sharp
SharpCap's
cap's good.
great.
Fire capture is also good.
Mhm.
Did you
Either of
see,
those two.
have you seen a functionality in SharpCap called ROI? Stands
No, I
for
haven't.
region of interest.
There you go.
I haven't
So
messed around with it a whole ton. I haven't. This
yeah.
was I think this was with ZWO that the night that I went out. I also took a picture of the Orion Nebula, which was really bad.
Oh. No, dude, you're doing great. This is
Listen,
you're
Xander,
getting data. This
for
is
for 40 frames a second, this is very impressive.
Thank you. And the focal length, I think the focal length of my telescope is 1350, 1350 millimeters
with the Barlow. Excuse me.
without the Barlow. So
Oh
with
wow. Okay.
it would
Oh,
be
dude, mine's 1422 without the Barlow.
so with the Barlow, two times Barlow, that would be like
Double, yeah.
3400. Not 3400.
Which Barlow do you use?
I use the Celestron Omni two times Barlow.
I I like the Teleview 2.5x Power Mate.
Mm.
Now
I
that is
also
kind of expensive, but you probably won't notice a difference between the one you're using and that one.
Yeah, you're good. What you're doing is great.
I
Yeah.
also have a 2-inch Barlow, but my telescope only accepts 1 1/4.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
how big is your camera sensor? You like
one
the
and a quarter.
Yeah, I put
yeah.
it.
So
Yeah.
you're not gonna be able to fit it anyways.
Well, I have it goes down. So it has like it's a 2 times like shaft, and then it goes up to it's a Luminos. It's a Celestron Luminos 2 times.
Hmm.
2 times Barlow. And it's kind of weird because it has like a thing. It's kind of hard to explain that you can also put a 1 1/4. I don't know if there would be any
There's an
edge of
adapter.
yeah, edge of field problems. I'm not sure.
The
So if
only
your telescope itself only has a one and a quarter, so you're fine.
Yeah.
Um, it's interesting. You can actually play with Barlows and stick extension tubes on them and make them longer and shorter. And if you can get it to focus, it's okay. You can like use a 2x Barlow,
yeah,
and if you only use half of it or whatnot,
you don't have to
it'll,
worry about back focus as much with Barlows.
yeah.
Yeah, I really struggle with focus. I was at the astrophotography clinic a couple weeks ago. Tom had this like jerry-rigged belt system on
Yeah.
Yeah,
autofocus, and I was
I
thinking
saw
about
that.
I was thinking about trying to do that because my
Homegrown.
Celestron makes a autofocuser, but for the 5, the 6, the 7, and the 8 or above, I'm assuming. But mine's a 4, so I can't mount it on there without the issue of it getting in the way.
Right.
Well, Xander, what you did here, you see how you got the moons of Jupiter?
Yeah.
That's a great way to focus. If you can see them, if you can resolve the moons, you know that's how I would start with focus. Um,
Yeah.
because you know when you're looking at the whole planet, it's waving around and shaking. Sometimes it's not that hard. I mean, it's not that easy. But when you look at the moon, if you try to get the moons in focus, um, then you know you pretty much nailed it.
Yeah, and it even looks like here I wasn't at perfect focus because I couldn't see. You might be able to see a faint little amount of the moon
Hmm.
right
There
around,
you go.
but
Increase
whenever
the gain when you're doing that, and that should help.
yeah,
And
okay,
then don't forget to put it back
mm, that makes sense. And
because I always forget to put it back.
I'm also taking. I got a little dwarf too, and I'm also trying to take images with that. And I tried to set the gain lower, and it made it worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to get the sweet spot.
Yeah, right now I'm at like 80, which I'm not sure if that's right,
That might be the sweet spot on the dwarf. Not sure.
but yeah.
Yeah, look at there's a chart
Look.
on the website for ASI. It'll tell you,
Gary.
hey, it's Gary. It'll tell you where the dynamic range drops off.
That's awesome. You wavelet sharpen that then, right? This is
This is after Registax.
yep, yep. No,
Yeah,
you're doing great.
it's pretty impressive, dude.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
What was your original question, by the way? You have two different AVI videos
Yeah, I
and you
have like
wanted to like use the frames across both of them?
I wanted to what I did was I installed this thing that people use for YouTube. It's called CapCut. And I
Mm-hmm.
put all of my videos. Yeah, this is what I made in it. I made a bunch of different bullet calibers and I don't know why this popped up. I don't know where this came from, but this is Fusion 360. I made all different types of
Should we be
Oh,
worried about you here,
3D
Xander?
well,
models.
it is great. This is a great video. I love going to like
Do I need
ships.
to buy a bulletproof vest next time I
Oh
go
my
to Greenland?
God.
Yeah, it's great. I like making this stuff in Fusion. This is the biggest gun in the world out of the Gustav gun from Germany. I don't even know how this got here, but yeah, but I was trying to put them together in CapCut and then stick it back through PIPP in order to get more data because I only had 3,000 frames. That's the max that ASI cut cap will let me go up
Oh,
to.
Oh my God, you still play World of Warcraft?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
lost six
Stay
years
on
of my
topic,
life
Lou.
playing that game.
yeah, all
That's
sorts of stuff.
that's still going on, huh?
Yeah, it's still going.
What's the
Now
top level now?
the top level, they actually it was a 120. Then they squished it down. They did Shadowlands, which is like the afterlife, and then after that, there's this thing called Dragonlands, and now it's 70 again.
Wow. I stopped playing when they at level 80.
Oh,
I had
so is that Wrath or is that Kata?
it was God, this was in 2009.
So that must have been Wrath, Wrath of the Lich King. Nice. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Don't get me started again on this now.
But yeah, I tried to put it together and it said, well, you have the wrong format, and I was so confused.
Hmm.
So I
Wrong
don't know if
format.
I
So
see
if
what.
you look, there are AVI files. I don't know what the output of that cat program is. Oh yeah, SER. SER is what you want to be shooting. So going forward, I would suggest with SharpCap,
Mhm,
shoot in SER format.
mhm. And then I should do it all in one. Do they have like an unlimited limit? Could I just take like 50,000 frames or something like that?
As
Well,
far as I know, there's no limit to SER. Um, so what you could do is you could like start recording and I think you can pause it and then unpause it if you wanted to like keep adding data to the same one. But you should be able to use multiple files as far as I
if
know.
if you use WinJPOS, I think you can just hit record and record as much data as you have
Yeah.
all night. Just one big file, and it will derotate all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If,
WinJuPost
if
is
if
probably the right answer.
if you have a big enough hard drive, or big enough and fast enough,
Mhm.
um, or maybe were you using the ASI camera?
I
Yeah,
was
you want to use the fastest USB cable and all that.
There you go. I
yeah,
put the
right.
link in the chat.
Okay, I'll check it out in a minute. But I was using the cable it came with. Is that fine, you think?
Yeah, yeah.
The
Just
the
don't use an
ASI,
extension.
the ZWO camera,
Yeah.
I've had bad luck with the cables it comes with,
The
but if it's
USB
working
3 cable?
correct, both me and Stan, we had to throw it out. It just would immediately
Really?
disconnect. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
But
Some of the cameras now, I bought when they had that sale around Christmas, I bought a guide camera, and they're coming with different USB 3 cables now, the planetary cameras.
oh
They're
good.
not the flat ones. Are you talking about the flat ones that you had trouble with, or the round ones?
I think it's a round one,
Oh, okay.
but you'll know immediately if your camera just keeps disconnecting from USB like every 2 minutes, then you know.
And is there any like recommended time limit for filming like the pictures of Jupiter? Because here I don't know if this is just like a placebo effect, but I could almost see blur from like here. I don't know if that's just the resolution of my camera being
I
like,
mean, 1 minute is, you should be fine.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
even a lot of people do 45 seconds on Jupiter. That's what Tom Nolasco limits it to 45 seconds for the avoid the rotation. Part of it depends on your imaging setup, your image scale.
Yeah.
But I used to do a minute a lot. Now I've cut down a little bit because you can see I'm shooting at a pretty long focal length, so you can see some blurring due to rotation at a minute. So I've gone down to Tom's recommendation of 45 seconds. Saturn you can get away with more time, and Mars you can get away with more time.
Because Jupiter's really quick, right? You could almost
yeah,
see it in a
Yeah,
couple of minutes.
what is
Straight.
it, 10 hours a day for Jupiter?
nine and change. Yeah.
Wow, that's quick. And
You know,
for a big
Try to
planet.
keep your USB cables clean too, because they're subject to a lot of corrosion when they're outside.
Mm.
Um, don't go crazy getting them wet, but this stuff, I swear by this stuff. You only need a drop or two, um, and it really works.
Yeah. So would you guys recommend running a USB cable from outside all the way inside to the computer, or do you think I should put it onto the laptop and then
USB 3
Laptop.
can only be so long before the signal starts to be, unreliable.
Yeah.
What I'd have you ever tried a remote desktop?
no, I have never tried that.
It's free. So what I do is so you can run the USB cable to your laptop And then if it's connected to your Wi-Fi, does it go to your Wi-Fi?
I'm not sure if we would be connected to the same Wi-Fi because there's a different Wi-Fi in the
Yeah.
back of the house versus the front of the house, and sometimes
Uh,
I go in the front and sometimes I go in the back, and my computer is closer to the front than the back.
yeah. If
Well,
you're on the same network.
pardon me, I have to say it. Just
Yes,
4 words. Library Wi-Fi hotspot.
Doug does this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah, I
remote
have a remote.
desktop.
I have a remote telescope.
Um,
It's 2 blocks away
oh wow.
in the park.
You know,
Casey, the night shift police officer, looks after my equipment for me.
Great.
Xander, one option you can try to do, and it might cost a little bit of money, but they make USB can only travel so far before the signal gets degraded. You can get one that has, a repeater on it, but there's another way you can go is there's an adapter you can connect to the USB that'll convert the USB to an RJ45, and then you can make that, 100 meters long. And then you would plug that into the other side. The same type of adapter will accept the RJ45.
Could you use like fiber optic?
If you want to use fiber optic, that's overkill, but
What?
Yeah, you
For
can just use
USB?
you can just use
One of
Cat
these.
5 or 6
yeah.
for what he's talking about, for what Lou's talking about. But the remote desktop is, I would look into that. Your networks might be tied together if they're just extenders.
Yeah, I think they
They
are.
might all just be back to the same, inside the house network.
Now, do you have one set up? All right, so you have two different routers, or
We
because
have, I think, I'm not sure how many routers we have. I think we have 2 upstairs, and I think we might have one downstairs too, but that connects all the different ones together. I'm pretty sure because they're all connected to like FiOS, some random amount of number.
right
Yeah,
now,
that's just a mesh network
does
from
one
Fios.
of
They're all
them
the same network.
does one of them distribute the IP addresses?
I have no clue. I'm not in.
Yeah,
I mean,
Lou, I'm pretty sure. I got Fios, and it
Yeah.
sounds like the same thing where it's just extenders and all that type of thing. So it's still one main
Yeah.
network, one name and everything. So
If you have like just a home network, I think it's very unlikely that you have actually like 2 real routers. It's likely just coming from one
Well,
one handoff from your
I,
ISP.
I have FiOS as well, and the problem I ran across was I bought my own router, and I had the IP address was being distributed by the FiOS router and then by my own router. But when I changed mine to a bridge mode, then everything was being distributed by a single router, so you can share files between computer. It didn't matter where you would jump on.
Yeah.
So you just make sure the integrity of your network is sound.
Yeah. I'm not even sure if I can connect from outside. I've never tried connecting.
If you can see the Wi-Fi, you should be able to.
I've also never not tried connecting. I've never tried to. That's kind of
If worse comes to worse, you can run a Cat 5 and 6 cable, a good 150, 200 feet
Yeah.
without any noticeable, without any problem.
Yeah.
I think the spec is around 150 feet, but you could push it further. I know years ago, I used to, before I had my extender out in the shed and one out in the garage, depending on where I set up for Wi-Fi, I literally would just crack the window a little bit and run an Ethernet cable out to the backyard, and that's as reliable as it gets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that in my old house as well in the wintertime, but then I also had to put a towel at the bottom of the window because it got freezing cold in the house. And you didn't want to squish the cable either, but I was more concerned that I didn't want to freeze my ass off.
I think Tom Nolasco and Joe Lamb, they use pool noodles.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah, they put one of the pool noodles underneath, like between the windowsill and the bottom of the pane.
Yeah, you could almost probably put the the cord through the pool noodle, right?
Yeah,
I suppose you could do that.
yeah, it worked well. I actually did that one time, but I have casement windows which open like this way. And
Oh,
it gets really cold because it's hard to get the whole thing sealed up. So if you
Drill
can
a
do the
hole.
Wi-Fi route, go for it.
Come on, Gary, just drill a hole in your wall.
Yeah.
I
I had
tell
a-
you, I actually, my ex-wife, maybe that's why she's my ex-wife now, but I actually toyed with, I tried to talk her into letting me drill a couple inch hole underneath the bay window in our kitchen. Cause I used to set up on the kitchen table and I used to set up equipment. I built like a little pier on my deck before the trees grew in.
Mhm.
And I used to run the cables through the kitchen window. And that was like, no, we're not gonna have a hole in the wall so you can run your cables in and out and stuff like that.
Oh
She's
no.
picturing creatures coming through and everything else, in the middle of
Well,
the
you
night.
put foam in it and fill it up.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
I used my doggy door for a little while, but the dog didn't like that.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Now you
I
guys give
think
me
I
some
see what
ideas
the
what I can do
problem
here.
is here. You must have a roof.
A roof.
course.
A roof, yeah.
I
You
hope
should get rid
so.
of. Yeah, yeah. You should get rid of that.
Oh my
Get rid of the
god.
roof. What's going
Oh
to
my
keep the rain out?
A tarp.
Yeah, there you go. Nice work, Xander.
Yeah, thank you. And
Yeah.
I was trying to find Uranus somewhere. Uranus.
Oh, Jesus.
Um,
There was a bunch of Klingons hanging around Uranus.
Yeah.
yeah, and there was
It's pretty small, but
Yeah.
did
Oh,
you
yeah.
did you get something for it?
Uranus is pretty small.
Yeah.
This is live
There's
on
a-
YouTube,
yeah.
gentlemen.
There's a
Gentle people.
yeah, there's a Futurama joke about that. They changed its name in the 22nd century to get away from that stupid joke. It's now Erectum.
Oh no.
but I was
Yeah,
trying to
we are on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess you're gonna have to edit some of this out.
No, no.
We're
That's your job,
live.
Lou.
No, I don't know how to do that.
but I found it in my 10-inch Dob, but I couldn't find it in the little thing. So I just
Hmm.
That's what she said.
It's
Yep.
it's definitely a harder target.
Yeah.
I don't know how
Yeah.
much you're like oh my gosh, you guys. I don't know how much you're gonna be able to see.
Especially with such a little diameter with such a big, because it's like a Mac Casanova.
Right. It's
You
almost gonna
should be
look
able
like
to
a
see
soft
a
star.
blue ball, a small one. It's not gonna be nowhere near as big as Jupiter.
Or Saturn or probably or Venus even.
Oh yeah, smaller than Mars.
Really? Wow.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. It's tiny.
Hmm.
What's the,
Well, thank
It's
you guys.
it's like a billion miles away from us.
Wow.
I'll make Xander
Oh,
feel
more
better
than
about
that.
this picture.
Like you need it. Let me see.
Yeah. Yeah, but did you make me?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
share on
Do you
this?
want to share one, Scott?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so
So-
much.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks
I-
so much, Ender. I feel like every time you're showing us something, it's getting better. And
Yeah.
keep going, learn Sharp Cap,
Yeah.
and you'll keep making the next step a little bit at a time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Xander, you just started doing this. It took me
Yeah.
a lot longer to get pictures of that quality when I started this hobby. So congratulations, man.
Yeah,
Keep
thank you
it
so
up.
much.
Whatever you're doing, keep it up.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So
I
it's-
that's help.
As some of you guys know, I have a sea star, and this is as good as a picture of Jupiter that I can get. So
Oh,
yours is much better, Xander.
That sea
It-
star though is very impressive for
It's
$500.
impressive, but I mean, obviously, it does not do planetary nearly the same extent of it. I mean, this was a 40-second video, so the actual video is just, that. So not nearly as good.
for stripes.
So there are stripes. I mean, I came out. It wasn't what I was actually going for, but
Did you hold a
here it was.
Barlow? Just like put your hand in front with the Barlow.
Exactly. Yeah, I just held the Barlow up there. I moved it away a little bit to get even longer. No, not quite. So, but I actually was using it and messing around with some solar. Here's actually why I got it for the eclipse and all that. And I was actually just doing some solar with it, and actually I captured a really unique. Let it play. There we go.
Oh, look.
Wait till the end of the video. There's actually something really unique about the sun with it. And I was just out there taking a picture of it and everything. And this was a week ago, with it, and I captured. It should be on screen right about now. I ended up
Oh,
capturing.
cool.
Cool.
Yeah,
It
like
was
it was completely accidental that it did it, and I actually took it and caught a frame of it to save it. But yeah, I ended up getting a plane right over the sun. I figured that's a
That's
very
great.
unique
That's amazing.
picture of it. So,
yeah.
but I
The
mean,
contra.
overall, like the Sea Star does actually really well with it. I mean, there's a few annoying settings with the Sea Star because, like, when you're doing the capture, if you exit and go back in, it resets all the settings every time, and like you don't know what game you're on. So, like, it's a little frustrating knowing more about it and everything. So, um,
Scott, you did
but
M42 with this Sea
yeah,
Star?
yeah, this is
Wow.
That's good.
what was it? This was half an hour. I think this is half an hour, and that's where it's like I'm pretty sure if I pull the data, I can see more of it, but it doesn't actually give it to you directly.
I,
But I'm pretty sure
I'm
that was about half an hour.
I'm impressed. It looks like there's a more dynamic range than I expected.
Yeah, yeah. This was in my front yard, with it. So I'm in Hatfield and things, and I had the light pollution filter on. And I mean, the light pollution filter adds a little bit of a green hue to it, but I mean, overall, it still came out really good with it. I was messing around. Like this one was, oh, I think this was about 5 minutes, um,
You can see
without the
the
light pollution
trapezium
filter.
down there. It's all smushed together, but I bet you in processing you could probably clean it up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, and you can actually connect and pull the file off of it, so I could reprocess it if I wanted. Like right now, these are all stacked together, but yeah, here are all the subs with it. So individually, that's just one single 10-second image.
Mm.
So so once I get a chance, I'll pull it and process some of those. But yeah, I was messing around with um M42, and then I forget why this one didn't come out nearly as good.
Oh,
Still, wow, put that
That's
back.
great.
Hold on,
Yeah, that's pretty
there's
good.
there's a second photo. Well,
Yeah,
yeah, like it's
that's
still
a very
dim
faint.
overall, but that was a lot dimmer.
That's pretty good, man.
Yeah, see, yeah, it's very biased. It's 21 minutes.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
And
not
it's a
bad at
really,
all for those
really
dim
faint
objects.
nebula. Um,
yeah, they're very faint.
yeah.
let's see. That one's 3 minutes. Where's the most recent one? There we go. It was 30 minutes is what I ended up doing.
This is beautiful. Look how
Yeah,
smooth
no,
it is.
I mean it was nice. I mean, because it's easy to just set up and all that. I mean, obviously it doesn't beat the higher end and all of that, but it lets you get stuff that you wouldn't get otherwise. Interestingly, it has a tighter field of view than my telescope has. So it's actually interesting that like when I did my telescope with Orion actually has a higher field of view, and I was surprised. It's only a 50 millimeter lens.
Right.
So, but then the other part that did is, it does lunar. So it was actually really nice with some of the lunar and solar come out really nice too.
Yeah, look at
So,
that.
um,
Can
I
it
was,
stitch
I
it
was,
together for you?
so no, this is the raw image. Well, yes and no. This is the raw file, and then it can stitch it, and it also does a time lapse. So I was getting a little creative the other day, doing a time lapse of just the moon and everything with it. So that's a time lapse of it's 10 seconds, and it does 30. I think it's 30 frames per second uh, per time lapse. So you got to do some calculations to find out what you're trying to do. But in terms of stitching it together, so it doesn't do the best presentation on what things it stitches together and not. I'm pretty sure this is just a raw image, and then this one is actually the stitched together image. It's actually a little dimmer, and side by side, like I can't really tell that much of a difference between them. So I don't know how well its stacking actually does on the telescope itself. So, I'd rather pull it off and do the post processing myself. But I mean, it does have a stacking ability to do it.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, no, I mean, it's clever to have some of these type of things with it because, like I said, got me more than I would have by myself. So
For
Yeah,
$500, you can't beat it.
yeah, I mean, I bought it predominantly for, I was messing around with various settings and things. I bought it mostly for the eclipse, so I can just, record the eclipse and go from there um, with it. And, since then, I've just kind of been messing around with it to see what it does and everything. So I'm happy with it overall. I still like my better setup, but I haven't gotten my other setup actually done yet. So this is
so
a
convenient,
nice little
right?
fill in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great for start parties.
Oh, exactly. I mean, it's only that big. So, it's really easy to just pick it up, take it to outside, plop it outside. It mostly calibrates itself. I mean, if you got some trees in front of it, it doesn't always calibrate the best. Um, but I mean, it weighs like 10 pounds. You just plop it in your front yard, run it for an hour or so, and then bring it back inside. I mean, it claims a 6 hour battery, but I wouldn't trust the battery life on it. I mean, I ran it for like, I think 3 hours and it was down to like 40% with it. So I don't know how long it'll do for like long durations. And then the other downside is obviously it's an alt azimuth mount. So uh, it ends up rotating the picture some. So if you're trying to do a lot of it, you're gonna get rotation and things with it and might cut things off. So you got to be careful how long it runs for and everything. So,
Can you make like
but
a
still,
wedge for it? Or like I know with the dwarf you can just put on a little tripod and you just angle it up and polar align it. Can you do the same thing with like the Sea Star, or does it
I
not have
mean,
that?
there's no settings in it right now that say to do polar align or anything. So not that I know of. I mean, I think a lot of its thing in itself is uh, that it is simple to start with and all that. So it kind of depends on how much they're going to come out with it. I mean, I think they're going to do it, but um, not that I've seen. I haven't seen any polar alignment or any modifications that you can do with it. I mean, it is just a basic tripod mount underneath it, so it's possible that someone will make a wedge for it too.
Interesting, thank you.
Yep. All right. How do I stop sharing? There we go.
Nice.
So I found the function that allows everybody to share. So if you go and share, no problem.
Did you click it?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Everybody's on.
And Paul's pointing out, by the way, that there was a solar image that got on APOD with a plane in front of it.
Yeah.
Not mine.
So there you go. Well, it could be yours. That's what he's saying. If you look
The
in the
one, the one
chat.
I linked was taken in 2001.
So you
Oh,
should
sounds like
submit
I
So
need
your
a
it's
new one.
there's might be a shot for your video to get.
submit your image.
I would submit
Yeah,
it. It's worth a shot.
yeah.
If,
I mean, no harm not to.
yeah,
So
I
I
linked it in
mean,
chat if you want to take a look.
Yeah.
no, I
It's pretty
will.
impressive. You can see the filaments, and I'm sure they had a solar filter on there. If it wasn't a solar scope to begin with.
Yeah, this is a little bit more, but hey, you know what? I can still try for it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get the ISS in front of the sun. I haven't had the opportunity yet.
I lost, like, I don't know where my photo is. I got one in front of the moon.
There's an app that tells you when that's going to happen, but I don't want to move
That's what I
my setup.
use.
Yeah, I don't want to move my setup from the backyard. It's too heavy, and it's never crossed my backyard. So
Wait, really? It's never crossed your backyard?
no, in front of it's never crossed my backyard in front of a planet or the sun or moon.
Oh,
I'd
Yeah,
have to
just
go
'cause you
like,
have to travel for those.
yeah, Gary, they're always over at Worcester.
I haven't had
you're
I
just gonna
haven't had
plop it in
one
his backyard.
I haven't had one in years, but I haven't looked for them. I used to use that website called Cow Sky, which was really good at doing predictions. Last one I did was out in Northeast Philly. We set up in like a church parking lot. There were a handful of us that kind of coordinated it. And that was the last time I did ISS passing in front of the sun.
Okay. Hey, we better get on it. We only got like 10 years left.
Oh, yeah, before that thing.
For the ISS.
Well, we got
Yeah.
the Chinese station still.
Yeah.
I haven't tried tracking that one.
Who knows what's gonna go up there to replace that? I mean, NASA's not gonna leave the sky empty, are they?
I mean, SpaceX will just fill it up with a bunch of Starlink satellites
There you go.
or Starship rockets, and who knows what else. A few more roadsters.
So, what are you guys doing for the eclipse? Anybody staying
I'm going
local?
to Ohio.
Yeah, I don't. So, I'm looking at some places. I rented some hotels, or I made reservations where you can cancel them up to the 6th in Syracuse, in Northwest Pennsylvania, which is a good jumping off point, to Ohio, Erie. But I'm worried of being so close to the lakes. You know, we'll have a lake effect.
So I was reading something that actually, as long as it doesn't snow, the lakes actually help keep the clouds away.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, other parts of Ohio have the Ohio Valley, and the mountains can actually add to it. But right
Yeah.
along the lake supposedly helps a lot.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's really cloudy. I lived in Pittsburgh. It's like the most cloudy behind Seattle or something.
Really?
Yeah, but up farther north, it's fine.
Yeah. So, like, the place we're from, like near Johnstown, it's not far. It's like an hour away, an hour and a half away from Erie, an hour and a half away from Cleveland. You know, I just want to be someplace. You know, I can't imagine the traffic is probably going to be crazy that day, but I want to be someplace at 6 a.m. that's inside. It doesn't have to be at the center line, but I want to try to drive to the center line as close as possible. Um, inside, you know, the eclipse path. Because if you get stuck in traffic, you just pull over to the side of the road, and as long as you're in the eclipse path. The other thing I'm worried about is running out of gas, because you know there's gonna be so much traffic. I can't imagine. Was that a problem last time that gas stations run out of gas?
There
Or
were leaving Casper, Wyoming. I mean, we were okay. Tracy and I got caught in about a 13 and a half hour traffic jam. And there were a number of people. We were able to get gas and get food at one point, and then we were fine. But there were a number of people that the gas stations ran out of gas.
right?
So they did get stranded. There were a number of people that got stranded that we heard of.
But at least it's not
Yeah.
wintertime. But
That was trying to leave. That was trying to leave. You know, the same day, and that was the mistake that Tracy and I made. In fact, a number of us, Louis Berman, Joe Lamb, we all made that same mistake.
Yeah, I have a hotel that night, like at the
Yeah.
same place, and then Tuesday we're driving back.
Yeah, that's smart. That's what Al Lamperti and Tom Nolasco did, and they were fine. But we were thinking that, I mean, we didn't leave right away. We stayed till the end of the eclipse, and we had some lunch and did all that. But the Wyoming news said that the number of cars stuck on that, I think it's Route 25 or something that goes down to Denver, was more than the number of vehicles registered in the state of Wyoming.
oh wow,
So there were more cars from on that road than there were cars in the state normally.
I mean, that's one thing
was
about it
insane.
is it's hard to say whether it's good or bad, but the eclipse is in a really populated area, so hopefully the areas can sustain more swelling. Where Wyoming, they can't swell because they don't have the infrastructure, but
Exactly.
Cleveland has the infrastructure to have it. Erie, they all have infrastructure to support large volume of people.
What I'm worried about is if it's cloudy everywhere, but like one place, and then everybody's
Yeah,
going to converge on the one
Yeah.
place. Uh, I mean, if it's clear everywhere, I'm not that concerned. But
I'm
I'm
hoping it's
thinking
clear
as
everywhere.
soon
Just yeah,
I think as soon as the diamond ring is over, I'm gonna be in the car leaving. If not, then we have to stay overnight. But my wife's got to be at work on Tuesday. Either
mm,
way, I guess we're not going to make it if we're stuck 13 hours in traffic.
Yeah, and it might not be as bad. I mean, Casper's in the middle of nowhere, but
Right.
you look at that center line goes through Cleveland, goes through, Erie, goes through Buffalo and stuff like that. They're major, like even Dallas. It goes right through Dallas. So if you live in Dallas, why go anywhere? Just
Right.
go in your
Right.
backyard. I mean, unless you wanted to see, that 360 sunset effect, depending on how your horizons are. Like when we were in Casper, we went up to the Alcon had a designated area up on the top of the hill where the university is, and they had a designated area so that they didn't get just everyone going there. So there weren't a lot of crowds, and that was a great location because you literally could see the shadow coming at you at 1,800 miles an hour. I mean, it was,
Wow.
and then when it was in during totality, you were at the top of this sort of mountain looking down on Casper, so you could see that 360 sunset effect, which that's worth a lot because that's a really cool phenomenon. So being in an area where there aren't a lot of buildings and trees has a benefit.
Well, too bad the Concorde isn't flying anymore. That would be a perfect eclipse flight. Not that we could afford it, but
Case it.
well, but the Concorde also can't fly supersonic over land.
that's right because it's too
Right,
late.
right.
What about that X-59 thing that can fly over land that doesn't have, I guess they haven't tested it yet, but now they have the thing that can fly over land without making a sonic boom that goes downwards, so it only goes upwards. That's going to be
I
an
haven't heard of this.
that's an expensive, probably be a like multi-million dollar flight right there.
If you haven't
Yeah.
heard of it, that means it's working.
I'm going to
No.
roll the eclipse. I'm going to try to roll the eclipse into a family vacation. I have an aunt who lives in Ellsworth, which is like 25 miles east of Bangor. So the plan is tentatively to drive to Halton, which is a town in Maine. It's on the border. It's the last. If it's a sunny day, I'll be one
Good
of the
luck.
last Americans to see the eclipse
Oh, right, right.
before it crosses over into Canada. So
Well,
and
good luck.
Holton's going all out for the eclipse. It's probably
Really?
it's the Chamber of Commerce of Holton, Maine is 100% behind the eclipse.
Great.
So one of the options I was looking at is Watertown because 81 goes all the way up there, but that's the only road. And usually, historically speaking, that time of year, Watertown is one of the cloudiest areas. Um, I don't know where else. I wanted to go to Texas at first. It's just that because it's the new moon's obviously is that day. I wanted to make a week out of it, and then after that, drive to Western Texas near Fort Davis or Belle Maria or Big Bend. Big Bend's really primitive, and it's amazing how uh, dark it gets. It's funny. The last time we drove across I-10, and I had no idea how close we were to Mexico, and Border Patrol stopped us, and the guy had his big spotlight. I mean, I was so frustrated. We were looking at Orion, and you could see the Milky Way. I mean, on the Orion side, so bright, I couldn't believe it. Brighter than Cherry Springs. And the guy, blinded us, and then he didn't believe us that we were there looking at the stars until I showed him, look at my back seat. I had all my gear there. And then he started talking, and we convinced him to turn his light off. And then after 20 minutes, half an hour went by, you know, we made him look up. He was talking to us for that long, telling us that, we stopped in front of a farm where Mexico was 20 miles away, and every year 100 people would try to cross, only 2 would make it. And people want to get over here, but he looks up in the sky, and his jaw drops. He's like, I've been doing this job for 15 years and I have never known. Well, that's because you have the bright spotlight all the time. You're looking for, look up once in a while when your eyes get adapted. So, he was grateful for us showing him. It's amazing, what percentage of the population doesn't even know, what's over their heads. But how many of you guys are going to the meeting at Green Lane Park tomorrow? The one last thing I want to mention to them, if you guys have
don't everybody talk at once.
Yeah, well, if you guys can give me any ideas, I'm going to be there. The last thing I want to mention for them is to put up signage indicating where the observing field is, just to make people aware, and also proper etiquette. Is there anything else you guys think? You all read the brochure that they put out? Jan shared with us?
Not to that level of detail.
No. Okay. I was just looking for a point, if anything else I can, what we're interested in, I can voice our opinion. This is our last chance. It's the last meeting.
Well, I mean, I think it's the recommendation, and of course, it can get turned over to them. So some of the implementation stuff might be get brought up later once they actually start doing some of the work. I mean, this is just the master plan, so I think it seems like they may not go too detailed to that level at this point yet.
Well, they said that they're going to put bushes up in front of the road, which is good. They're going to clear out an area for us to the I guess west of the horse area, so we don't have to worry about the horse manure. But it would be great if they would have signs, to keep the horses out, or tell people this is where the observing area is, red lights only, or maybe when people can expect us. How do we word that? During dark nights when there's a new moon, somebody's probably out here. Something that
don't feed the astronomers.
Change,
Please feed the astronomers.
Yeah, I thought they feed us.
Please feed the astronomers. Yeah,
I thought they bite.
Yeah, if you want to look through a telescope, bring your cookies. It's free. We'll work for food.
I've never been up to Green Lane. Is it dark down there or up there? Or I don't even know where it is.
It's like a Bortle 5. It's not quite as dark as Blue Mountain Vista. But on a clear night, and you can see the Milky Way. I mean, it all depends on the darkest SQM reading I've gotten is 20.3, and that's like at midnight on the best night of the year, when the transparency was perfect.
Jan was telling me how you guys argue over the 20.3, 20.4, 20.5.
Well, yeah, because Jeremy's monitor is a little more generous than my monitor.
And mine's not at all. Mine's off by 0.2 from Jeremy's.
And
that was 0.1.
Barry's monitor is
mine is on the lower side. I've done a side by side with Al Lamperti when we were at Blue Mountain Vista, and mine consistently comes a tenth or so lower. But I think the tolerance is plus or minus a tenth magnitude.
Yeah, can't really complain about that. But what was the darkest you've ever gotten at Blue Mountain?
Over
21?
No, high 20s. It's routinely more like 20.4, 25. I think I've gotten some 20.8. I think Frank said that the darkest he's seen is like 20.9 or something, or low 21. But I haven't particularly, I mean, it's typically not that dark, like not 21 kind of dark.
Right.
And at Cherry Springs, I get more like 21.8, numbers like that,
That's really
20.885. And that's not as dark as it used to be. I mean, before these meters came out, I just mean visually, it was when I first went up there in 99 to do astronomical observing, it was before they did all the fracking and all the well drilling and all that, and before people started to learn that something was up there. And that was like you would lay there, you would see color in the Milky Way after a couple hours of letting your eyes get dark adapted. You could see the browns in the Milky Way, naked
wow.
eye.
Wow.
That's the darkest I've ever seen it up there, even compared to out west. It compared to that back then. Now it doesn't compare to out west, like you're saying, Big Bend or places like that.
John, it doesn't take us a couple of hours to see colors in the Milky Way, does it?
Well, I tell you, for your eyes to dark adapt, it really is a number of hours.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're
To
smoking,
get truly dark adapted.
Doug.
Uh,
Yeah.
We
Well,
got double vision you guys are seeing.
I think I
that's
know
the
what
problem.
Doug's making a joke, I'm
That's
pretty
all.
sure.
We can pass over that.
Doug
It
sees
takes
colors no matter what he's looking at.
it takes two
Yeah.
hours to be dark adapted and a split second to lose it all. That's the most frustrating part,
Yeah.
you know.
Hmm.
But there is a
You
patch.
dark adapt your eyes. I dark adapted my visual cortex.
Yeah.
There is
Well,
there is
you
a
go.
part in Green Lane Park. If you look overhead, it's almost like a figure eight, where you know, almost like a snowman, where one part is bigger than the other, and it's like a dark hole, like almost directly overhead. But then what encroaches is the light dome from Allentown. Then you have the farther away is the light dome from Reading.
Mhm.
And to the south,
And
all
you
the
have a Walmart like in Pottstown. I think that's there's like a light. I actually been up there. I think it's Pottstown and the Walmart there that are
Oh,
causing that
Quakertown.
Limerick
that light dome
definitely
to the
has a light
north.
dome. Yeah, Pottstown. But directly overhead, so like when I'm imaging, there are certain objects that consistently come out. They're easier to process because they spend more time directly overhead. When you're going closer to the horizon, you're in the muck, a lot. You get in the muck a lot quicker here than you do, Blue Mountain, or past
Yeah.
tense did at Blue Mountain, and certainly Cherry Springs. I mean, Cherry Springs, you can image pretty low, and there's, the clouds are still black. That was the first time I noticed that, when they were black on the bottom and white on the top. That was really eerie. The light
Well,
was reflecting off the top of the clouds from the Milky Way.
Yeah. The nice thing with Cherry Springs is that southern horizon, because that's the Susquehannock State Forest, is
Right,
south of Cherry Springs, and like nobody lives there. It's
right.
there's. I used to hike that back in the 90s, in the 80s and 90s, before I realized that the observing field was up there. And I mean, we would hike for 3 days through the Susquehannock State Forest. You'd come across like two houses. There was just nothing. There was nothing out there.
Yeah, there was more
That's
bears
why
than
even
people.
to this day, that southern horizon is just so dark. So you're looking right at the core of the Milky Way at that point.
Yeah, there was this one time on when we drove up there. I think we took, I forget what highway we took, but we took this weird direction because I think there was like a traffic jam somewhere, and we were going for like 2.5 hours through just forest and forest and forest, and there was nothing. I remember seeing one sign about some sort of snake wrangling tournament, but that's
Yeah. Yeah, they actually do. They actually do rattlesnake releases, and they like once a year, I think it is, because we were actually backpacking. Me and two friends were backpacking, and there was a sign-in post in front of this woman's porch, and she starts to talk to us about watch out for the rattlesnakes, and we thought she was, just pulling our leg, basically, just trying to break them for us. But it was actually real. When we finished the hike, we realized that weekend was the rattlesnake release, and they try to gather them up on the rocks. So I mean, we were cautious. You're kind of cautious anyway, but
Right.
started to realize maybe she didn't sound like she was joking.
that's
And then as
amazing.
we're walking, you start to spook yourself. It's like I think she might have been serious. We never saw any rattlesnakes though.
Oh man.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
there's nothing up there for 60 miles. You don't have cell phones. Actually, sell a payphone up there.
yeah, you probably would. Now that forest, Xander, you were saying for driving for hours and stuff, it's something like 384,000 acres.
Whoa.
The
That's
size
a
of that. It's some number like that. It's close to 400,000 acres.
that's a lot of land, right?
It's a lot of state forest.
Where
They'll
nothing
sell
lives
it at some
there
point.
except for bears and snakes.
Yeah, we have seen bears. I haven't seen the snakes, but we have seen bears. I've seen molted snake skin when they shed, but not the snakes. Anyway, I have a real quick kind of, you're talking about the eclipse, and Tracy just got back from Salt Lake City, so I went to pick her up, and we stopped at PF Chang's to have dinner right before this meeting. And my fortune cookie said, "Luck will visit you on the next new moon."
Let's
There
hope
you
so.
go.
And the next
An
new moon
eclipse.
is the
Is the
eclipse.
eclipse.
Yeah.
So I'm keeping this. I'm taking this with me on the Trump serious. This is my good luck.
Laminate it.
Mine is lucky
I
too.
need to
Hey,
get
Tracy.
going.
Hi, everybody.
Here you go.
That's awesome.
It doesn't know who to focus on.
Yeah, yeah.
Do this. Really confuse it.
Focus on the little fortune. Yeah. Laminate that. Put
That's
that.
great.
Hang it on a frame.
I
Yeah, that's
know. I
great.
think I'll scan it and like blow it up. I'll make it my screensaver or something. But I mean, it couldn't be. We had 3 fortune cookies. That was the only one Astro related, and it was the first thing the one I got. So I'm taking that as a good omen.
Well, that'll be
Talking
great.
about the transits, and I did a quick search on my old Astro photos, and the first one was that I did was in was 2006 that we published, and this was the one that Wayne, you and I did, where you were at Hebner Park, and oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. You were at Hebner Park, and I did it from my yard.
Yeah, I remember
You
that.
can actually see the parallax, even though we were about a quarter mile from one another.
Oh,
It was
wow.
something like 7 or 8 Earth diameters was the parallax. So I have a little animation if anyone's interested in seeing it.
Well, you share your screen.
So I think I'm gonna bring it over to this desktop so it doesn't get confused. So these were webcams, I think, right, Wayne? We were doing
Yes.
2U cams or something back then.
Gary. Yeah, 2U cam on my camera, on my telescope.
So host disable participant screen sharing.
No, it should be.
No, I'm getting that each
Oh,
time.
this is all
Okay.
participants.
We just give it to you this way.
Well, I
But
wonder if that's for next time when you set up the meeting, like when that go active for this meeting.
we're both admins, so it should work.
Okay, so it worked this time.
I gave
So
you
let's see.
codes.
So if I do screen 1, so I'm guessing you're seeing my desktop
Yeah, we see your desktop and
Yes.
and a folder.
files. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see.
2006. Let's see. I was still in college.
Yeah, so
2006.
here are some still pictures of it.
Oh, cool.
So
Yeah.
these are 2 these are superimposed. So this
Wow,
is
how
lining
did you
up.
line everything up like that?
I
guess
did
with
that in
Sunspot.
Photoshop. I lined it up in Photoshop, but here's the let's see, it should. So they were 0.27 miles apart in Center Point. Wayne was at Hebner Park. So this is Wayne's capture. And then I was in my backyard, and that's my capture.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
So both captures side by side.
That's fascinating.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
That's the parallax from literally a quarter mile away.
How many miles away was the space station? Like 200 and...
They're 220 miles or so. So this is Earth diameters relative to the scale to the sun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 Earth diameters. Oh, I guess I should have waited. Forgot I put that in there. Isn't that wild?
That is very
That's so
cool.
cool.
I'll play it again if you're interested.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
40, 48.
Yeah, maximize it, Gary.
And these are with the old you know, the webcam approach before we had nice cameras.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's that. And then this, let's see. So this was back using a refractor. Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't a church, it was a golf club in Northeast Philly. So this has the ISS with the STS-135 attached to it. This was shot with my Canon 50D, just in video mode. So it's full frame of the sun. I'll stop moving my mouse so that goes away.
Oh yeah, there it is.
The other one, when Wayne and I did that other one, we used the sunspot group. We knew it was going to be near that sunspot group. So we were able to use higher focal length optics. So that's how quick it is. And then these are some of the characters that were there back then. That's my setup. I had one optical. Let me pause that a second. I had an optical set up so I could look at it. And then this was the photographic was the TV 101. Just with you know, alt as an old surveyor's tripod.
Yeah.
With a little it's called the easy touch alt as kind of pivoting mount, so I could track it with this I guess I can't, let's see, I could track. I attached a piece of metal. I bolted a piece of aluminum to one of the dovetails so I could guide it that way. And you know, obviously it was just to track the sun, and then once it was photographing the sun, photographing the transit, you know, I didn't touch it. But it's tricky to do because
oh yeah,
with the camera, yeah, Jim Sweeney and Jerry Rodriguez were in this other parking area. So they weren't right where we were set up, because the actual like your cameras. Let me get out of sharing. Where'd my controls go? I can't find my controls.
So Gary, is that a video, or you're just taking so many images within a certain amount of time?
That was in video mode. It was basically just the camera. I'm sorry, not video mode. It was in burst mode. And
there you go.
Oh, thank you. And the tricky part was when you're doing it in burst mode, like with a DSLR,
you got to know when
buffer fills up really fast if you have it on fast burst mode. So watching your clock, and back then this was, with separate GPSs and stuff like that. It wasn't like you had that accuracy in your phone. Um, so I had a little external Garmin GPS unit that gave me really accurate time. I used to use it for like doing doing asteroid occultations. So you really had to watch that because it comes across. I mean, it's down to the split second when you know it's going to transit because you have your coordinates. And back then, before you were doing it with a video camera, you had to make sure you hit that shutter soon enough to capture it, but not too soon, because if you hit it too soon, your buffer would fill up, and then you wouldn't actually get any more frames. So you
Yeah,
couldn't.
it takes about 8/10 of a second to pass in front of the sun.
We don't
Yeah.
know how easy we have it nowadays.
Oh, now,
Yeah,
yeah.
now we have faster cameras, higher frame
I
rates.
mean,
So, but we don't have cow sky. There's something else out there now that can predict these, but cow sky was really good for that.
Yeah, the website of choice for that, because it even gave you a simulation if you were doing planetary imaging and stuff. It gave you a simulation of what it would look like through a particular size optic. So you could say, I want a simulation of what Mars is gonna look like through a 6-inch scope. So you had kind of an idea of what to expect feature wise and detail wise.
Hmm.
Do you know what's taken its place, Wayne?
No, there's another website. I did hear about it and looked it up, but I don't remember what it is. Um, and I don't know if I have a record of it, but there is something that somebody put out to do what Cal Sky used to do.
Does it ever transit in front of the moon, or is it like not filmable?
Oh
Or
yeah,
Yeah, I've done
yeah,
the moon before.
Yeah.
I photographed that. One nice thing now is that the space station is larger than when we were shooting it, Gary. That was before they completed the assembly of it, and so it's now bigger. So it's a bigger target.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
so that's
Yeah.
why it looked kind of asymmetrical with the one like
yeah,
solar panel.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I haven't shot any of it since they've finished the assembly. It would be more impressive now.
that's a good point. Yeah, that would be worth doing. It's fun little project, but you do
Yeah.
typically have to travel for it. This one happened to be lucky where it was literally like when I looked up the data, it was like it was in my backyard. And
And with the simple webcam that I was using, you the most you could get is around 3 to 4 frames across the
yeah,
sun at the speed it could record, and it
yeah.
was all USB one. Um, you didn't have high speed connection.
And they were much lower resolution. Now you could do it with a
Yeah,
much higher resolution camera at a much higher frame rate. It'd be really cool. Because then you could really stack them. You could stack you could stack on the ISS. I mean, you post processing, obviously,
right.
because that would be interesting to see if at high image scale, if you happen to be at the right part of the sun, if you guessed right.
Yeah,
didn't you have an image of the space station with the space shuttle attached to it?
Yeah, that I shot with my 9 1/4. That is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, do you have it handy? That's
Probably.
a very cool image.
Here you
Maybe
go. I just gave it back to you.
Oh yeah, hold on 1 second. Yeah, take it away for a second. I want to get over to. Stop it.
John, we have to figure out why that share is not working.
Yeah.
You see on the option on the bottom where it says notes on your screen, and there's a little arrow up. If you press that, maybe you don't have yours on. Maybe that's why I can't share.
I'm looking. So I see the share screen and the little arrow.
It says notes. It says allow participants to share a note.
Advanced sharing.
Right
All
where it says
participants.
notes on the bottom right.
How many participants can share? One. Who can share all?
Yeah. You have that check?
Yeah, here it is.
Let's see it.
I set it
If
to
you
all.
Are you not able to share?
Here I go. Hold on. I'm going to just share the desktop again.
There it is. What?
That's one of, this is the ISS. This is the space shuttle, the STS what was it, 135 back then? Let me see.
Which mission was it?
Let me get to my folder. STS 128 is that there. Let's see.
So you just set up in the path and then started taking a video?
This is not a video. This is stills.
Oh, it's still,
That's
This is
even
insane. Yeah, this
that's
is
even more
an
skill.
insane situation.
wow.
Yeah, so here's a composite of that's a
Yeah,
composite
there it
of
is. This is the one I was looking
of the
for.
best frames. So
Very
it's
cool, Gary.
rotating as it goes overhead. It rotates. That's why they get bigger and smaller. This one's blurry here. That was a flare off of the bright surface of STS 128, I believe. That was still that orientation.
This is one of the last missions.
Yeah, this is near the end because it went up to what, 135 or 135. Yeah, I think it was. It was somewhere around there. Yeah, so this was let me see if I have the setup.
That was right after I was born.
Xander, you made me feel old.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm looking for the picture I have of the setup.
It sneaks up on you, Xander.
does it
Oh
cross
God.
over the sun
It
often?
takes forever to turn 21. Then, by 30, and then you blink your eyes, then you're 40. You blink your eyes again, then you're 50. You blink
Yeah.
your eyes again, then you're dead.
Wow.
Okay,
There's
thanks,
a time
Lou.
between
I shouldn't
50
be
and
here.
dead. Thanks.
So Xander, don't blink your eyes.
Yeah, just keep them open forever, right?
Yeah, Gary, Gary, I think I found the modern alternative to Cow Sky. It's called transit-finder.com, and it shows passes across the sun. There's one on Thursday.
Here we go. I found them. Here, I'll try this. Here we go. So this was oh, go away. This was the setup. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
you have like
So-
rubber bands for your laptop.
That's not a laptop. So that was an old DVD, a portable DVD player that the
Oh.
DVD mechanism broke, but it had external inputs. So I used that as a little portable monitor. And this is kind of weird. It's an interesting setup from a kind of like a learning or like a way to solve this problem, because I'm shooting here at 2500 millimeters. This is prime focus into the camera, and it's a crop sensor.
Ooh, it's a small
So
field of
it's
view.
it's like 1.6 times that. So it's close to 4000 millimeter focal length. And obviously any movement is going to be extremely exaggerated, and and you're tracking an object that's flying at 18,000 miles an hour. So it's the equivalent. If you look at that image, it's the equivalent of shooting like a 22-story building in Boston from my backyard. That's the image scale. But the
Wow.
building is moving at 18,000 miles an hour. So
Talk about determination.
what I did, this is like my third attempt. The rig kept getting more and more complicated because what I did was I couldn't track it manually. Obviously, you're not going to track it through the finder. So what I did was I put a red dot finder up at the top of this stalk, just a piece of wood, just attached to this guide scope. And then I stuck a video camera. This is a video camera that I used to use, real low light sensitivity video camera that I used to use for asteroid occultations. So I set up the image scale of this telescope, this small refractor, so that if I were to track the ISS with the red dot finder, then it would be in this scope. And if it was in this scope on this screen, I knew it would be in the camera.
Oh, wow.
So I calculated the image scales such that the field of view in this monitor was essentially the same as the field of view of the DSLR.
Hmm.
And then the last addition I made, which isn't on this, is I stuck that piece of metal. I used to track it just by pushing on this telescope, but sometimes it would mess up the alignment or mess up sort of like the focus. So then I attached the piece of metal here as like a guide arm, so I could guide us across the sky, because it's going. This is a real high pass, so it's going way up, and then you're spinning around, and you're trying to keep the red dot, on the object, on the ISS, basically, or on the thing you're tracking, and then it's all over the screen.
Did you have
And I had this wire here is my cable release. So I'm just manually like boom, 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 boom. As soon as I saw a dot on the screen, boom, 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 as fast as I could press the shutter.
Wow.
So that was the rig.
So you did this all on your own without anybody helping you?
Correct. Yeah.
Wow.
It took me a couple times. It took me like three passes to get it good. Then I tried it with a 2X Barlow. And you could see more detail, but unfortunately it was just the motion. The other thing you're fighting is this thing's moving fast and you're moving, right? You're manually pushing a telescope. And the ISS is about the same brightness as Jupiter. So I used Jupiter as my target. Jupiter was out that night. So I was able to focus on Jupiter, because that's the other thing, how am I focused? So I was able to focus on Jupiter. I was able to set the exposure, ISO, that kind, shutter speed ISO, such that it was properly exposed because Jupiter was properly exposed. They were around the same magnitude brightness.
So Gary, were you snapping the shutter as you were moving it, or would you halt for a second and then hit the shutter?
Moving and snapping. I was moving with one arm and I had the cable release
Really?
with the other one, just press, 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 press.
If you put that up on the screen and ask how many people think this would work,
Right.
I'm
Exactly.
pretty sure everybody would say no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk about determination. I mean, that takes patience and determination. And I can't believe it only took you 3 attempts to get it.
Yeah, the first ones I was able to get stuff, but they were blurry, they were too dim. Just a little better shot of
Just tracking, following, keeping that in the field of view is hard enough. Forget trying to coordinate your hands with the remote.
Yeah, this is something that I've been thinking about and would like to do, but I'm only at the point of mulling over, okay, how am I going to do this?
Well, now
I got the
you
ideas.
can use your go-to mount to track.
Do they go fast enough?
Yeah. I mean, typically, I think for a while, I don't know if they can track the whole thing, because the mounts now are like 6 to 8 degrees per second, I think, right? They're getting pretty fast compared to the older mounts. I think the
mine didn't
A5
do
is
that
about
well.
6.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, say again.
Mine didn't do that well tracking. I I even was in communication with the software engineer that was designing the software for mine, but I could track it somewhat, but when it got high overhead, it moved too fast.
Yeah, okay. So these are the individual pictures. These are like
Wow.
sequential pictures.
Okay.
When it was
Like a
when it was
fly
in
on
the
your
field of
screen.
view. I'm just clicking through them real fast. You can see it's like all over. So I'm struggling to keep it in the field of view.
This is the fact that you have so many in the field of view is impressive.
Yeah, I think it was like 70 something pick. Now it's getting really small and fading away. So that one's out of the field of view, but you can see here how faint it's getting when it's in the distance. And then there's a point you just, you can't see it anymore. I think we're looping back up to the beginning.
It's
Yeah, so
very
you can see
impressive,
the
Gary.
motion blur in that, right?
Mhm.
Very,
That
very
one has the
impressive.
motion blur. And I think I got 6 out of the 80 something or 90 frames. I got 6. Well, let me see how many there are. 120
Wow.
exposures.
Now you have some really clear ones near the bottom there.
And I got, yeah, these are the ones that are, after going through it. These are some of the best frames. That's cropped and zoomed down, but I mean, there's stuff in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would assume if somebody was out there like holding a mirror towards your telescope, then maybe you'd be able to see them.
It's very, very
Anyway,
impressive.
that's
Nice.
that's what happens when you go insane. You do stuff like that.
Astronomy's it'll
It
do
does
it.
take a little bit of insanity to be in this hobby, right?
I mean, look at Doug.
Again,
I love you, Doug. I'm sorry.
Well, whenever I complained to Tom about some issue I was struggling with, he would always remind me that astronomy is not for a wimp.
No, for sure.
yeah, there's a certain gluttons for punishment
Yeah, some masochist.
factor, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Hey, at least we get to
ISS
see the
transits.
pictures.
Sorry.
so the,
ISS transits are especially hard because the window of getting lined up is so small, as you can see from the 0.3 of a mile separation between Gary and I that one
yeah,
time. You have to be right on the center line, and the predictions. I'd go out the day before and figure out a spot that was on the center line that would be good for shooting, parking lot or whatever. And then the next morning, the orbital elements changed enough that I had to pick a new spot
Yeah.
last minute. It's not easy.
and your watch has to be
There's a lot
perfectly
of luck involved.
synchronized.
So now, what was your focal ratio on that setup?
F10.
What's F10?
F10, yeah, with a crop sensor. So it'd be like F16 effectively.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Listen, I gotta go. I have to go and pick up my wife, so I'm gonna bail from the meeting. I didn't get any. I didn't show any images. But listen, speaking of insanity, I've got 2 mounts now. I've got a EQG that I bought from Frank Colissimo, which I really like, and I also have my Celestron AVX. And I just wanted to show off my Celestron AVX.
Oh no.
Can you see it here?
Oh, it looks like a bunch of pieces.
Yeah, it's
exactly. That's my status of my AVX right now.
Oh.
So
I'm sorry that I sold mine. That
Yeah.
was a great mount.
okay, yeah. So if you ever wanted, for all the beginners, what have I got here? Oh yeah, this is what a right ascension axis looks like.
Are you going to put it
Okay.
back together?
I'm going to try. But listen, I found a video of this guy. The side voyage was, you see, you always learn things. I found a video of this guy who rebuilt his AVX, but the way he did it was he took it apart and then decided at that point that he wanted to make a YouTube video about it. So you only have a video of him putting it back together, but I did manage. I was really proud. I managed to re-encode the video backwards. So that's how I learned how to take apart an AVX.
Is there any particular reason why you decided to take it apart?
I was having a lot of problems with it. I think that everybody's got their opinion. I think that its lubrication just deteriorated over the 2 years that I have it, and it was having a lot of basically guiding problems. It consistently shows, if you look at my guiding logs, it shows pulse, no change, pulse, no change,
A lot of
pulse, no
backlash.
change, pulse, overcompensation, overcompensation, repeat cycle.
Well,
So
don't
I'm
put it back with the
suspecting
same parts.
that's a problem with basically I call it stiction lash, backlash, but also the mount. Basically I think the right ascension axis is not turning turning until it gets multiple commands to turn, and then it overcompensates. Which hopefully I'm thinking just may be a loop problem, a cleaning and a loop problem.
Doug, make sure you hyper tune it when you put it back. Get better parts, and super lube works fantastic.
So
that
I'll let
goes
everybody
to a
know.
white-
Otherwise, I've got spare AVX parts for sale.
Yeah, hold on to those.
Parts.
There you go. Okay, bye bye, guys.
Good luck
Take care.
with
Doug.
the
Bye-bye.
eclipse.
Bye. Have a great day.
See ya.
Great.
Yeah, that's the level of craziness it takes to be part of this hobby.
Yeah, I have to tear my Meade LX90 mount azimuth apart again after the eclipse anyway, because I've got way too much backlash. So I think the gears need a little tuning on the tension on the gears, and maybe some lubrication. I don't know. I've replaced bearings in it before, but not looking forward to doing it again.
I've got 5 seconds of backlash on mine, and there's really no way to take it apart. I mean, everything's all contained in the two motors that it comes with.
Well, luckily for the Meade LX90, there's a girl that many years ago, a couple decades ago, took hers apart and documented in words and photographs every step, and taking it apart and putting it together. And luckily, I printed all that out before that was removed from the internet. But she got away from it, went to another telescope model, I guess, and the directions, I think they disappeared, but I have it in a hard copy. So
I'm debating.
luckily, I need to replace some drive bearings, and I was able to find them from a Master Car, so that worked out.
What kind of mount was that, Wayne? The Meade
LX90 go-to mount. Yeah.
Is that an azimuth or a EQ?
It's an azimuth mount. Yeah, it's the one built into the scope.
Yeah, I'm debating. My mount is just a mess. I'm debating whether I should get a Losmandy mount or. What do you guys think of Losmandy? I mean, it's not as expensive as a Mach 1. But right now, like my tracking error is, I don't know, like 14 or 20 arc seconds, 15 to 20 arc seconds.
Doesn't Al Lamperti have a Losmandy?
I don't know what he still has, or
He did. He had a G11. He had a Losmandy G11. What's that?
Are they any good? Are they easy to work on?
They're good. They're not the design isn't as modern as some of the newer mounts. They're still based on a old style worm gear type drive. The newer belt drives, I think, are probably a little better as far as hysteresis goes. They've modified the bearing blocks over time. They used to be fixed, like the one I have a GM8 and a G11. They have fixed bearing blocks and they're kind of hard to keep aligned. The newer models have spring-loaded bearing blocks, so they are not as finicky as far as binding and stuff like that, or risk of binding up. They're rock solid mounts. I mean, I've been using them for 25 years or something. They're rock solid mounts. They don't, every once in a while you have to change the grease, or maybe, and I put heavy duty bearings in mine, so I don't think I'll ever have to change the bearings. They had, when they, in the axes, the deck and the RA axis, they had counterbored them deeper than the bearings, so you could actually put two bearings in.
Okay.
So I like my G11 can handle 75 pounds of payload or something.
Oh,
It's pretty significant. They're rated for, I think it was rated for 45 or 60. It might have been 60. Or maybe it was 45 and it went to 75 with the double bearings. The GM8 is like 40 pounds, something like that. So they're beefy mounts. And the go-to works well. The Gemini 2 go-to system works well. But there are a lot of options. Like I looked at upgrading my, I have a push to with digital setting circles on both my GM8 and G11, and I looked to upgrade to the Gemini 2, and then decided to just buy one of the Ioptron SEM 40 mounts. It was smaller. It was decent capacity, 40 pound capacity. And it was more accurate in terms of backlash and stuff like that. So
really?
Yeah, and like the Ioptron SEM 70, that's what Mark Ferrari has, that's what Tom Nolasco has. They're really, really rock solid mounts.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled with my I got the CGX, but it's got the belt drive and it's still way off. Celestron had sent me back so many different versions of this. The first one I bought was the most accurate, but it would constantly bind. And they finally wound up just giving me a refund. The thing is, I'm so used to the Celestron software now, switching to a whole new system, it's got to be worth it. So you're thinking Ioptron. I didn't even consider that.
That's what I wound up going with. I mean, there's a lot of options out there, but that's what I wound up going with. And I've been very happy with it. I control it from my iPad mostly. I mean, it has a decent hand controller, but I don't tend to use that much.
So which Ioptron, Gary, would you suggest? I mean,
well, it depends on your payload, but like I have the 40 because I wanted it to be that can handle my C9 1/4 with no problem, and I wanted it to be fairly portable. But if you have a longer tube, like if you're shooting, I mean, I know you have the Edge 8, but in the future, if you were to use something with like a bigger moment arm, like a Newt or something like that, or then you could go with the SEM 70. That's what Tom and Mark have for their bigger rigs.
What do they run about?
It's right here. 3,200.
2,500, I think, was what I paid for
that's reasonable.
For the SEM 40. Now they do have one with absolute encoders in them. It's about $1,000 more. That's the one Mark has. It has absolute encoders and these electronic kind of built-in correction, so you don't even need to track in a lot of cases. You don't even need a guide scope.
Well, I mean,
I don't have that one.
I like the dither only because I want to if I want to use drizzle integration.
Yeah. You can dither without guiding now.
Yeah, you can dither without guiding.
It usually works better.
Not ready to give you a big sloppy kiss.
What was
But
that?
yeah, that you can look at those. That might be a reasonable.
How do you spell with
I
SC
dropped it in the chat,
70?
Lou. It's in the chat.
Oh, okay. Let me look.
It's C,
That-
the letter CEM.
Oh,
And
CE.
yeah, like Charlie Edward Mark.
Okay.
It's those particular ones are not they're equatorial mounts, but they're called center balance. So that CEM line is different from their GEM. They're German equatorial mounts.
Right.
The C is for center balance. So it puts the counterweight opposite the OTA. So
Okay, I
that
see.
center of gravity of that assembly is right over the tripod. It's a really nice design.
I just want to make sure that that won't hit my pier.
Well, you could put an extender on it if you needed to, but
Yeah.
I don't have an extender on mine, and I can swing that C9 1/4 around all day long. I can put my TV 101 on it, which is a decent sized tube, and I mean, it comes close, but it doesn't hit.
Now this one says
My AM5, my ZWO AM5, that little strain wave motor mount, that will hit without the extender. I don't know if you've had the same thing, John, if you have an extender on yours.
Yeah, I got the smaller extender at first, the 3 poles,
Yeah.
but I would recommend just go straight for the aluminum
Yeah, the tube
cylinder.
with the two
Yeah.
holes at the bottom.
Yeah, I use that for my newt. And
That's what I wound up getting. So,
Mhm.
and that I think is a good recommendation.
Yeah, it's
so. I
stable.
need to take measurements here, make sure I can put my scope on there and close the roof without it clipping the scope.
You just gotta raise the roof.
What is it?
I said you just have to raise your roof.
Well, my pier has adjustable, has 3 bolts, so I can raise it and lower it about an inch or so. And right now, I can close the roof with the telescope pointing, in the home position toward Polaris with the dew heater on. It'll just bump into the dew heater, but that gives you an extra foot of clearance. So I actually would like to put this even closer because then I could see a little bit higher above the side of the observatory. The other thing, I don't like to image anything below 25 degrees. I mean, 25 to 30 degrees, just because there's so much
Yeah.
light
Yeah,
pollution.
it's lucky.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with the data half the times.
Yeah.
But I've wanted to catch the antenna galaxy, but they're pretty low. I've tried that once, and I just wound up wasting time collecting, 100 subs on that.
I have a question about that. I'm thinking the same thing, Lou, because I was out of Green Lane with Wayne and Barb and Jeremy, and there's some galaxies that are down below 40 degrees, and you start getting the muck, like you're talking about from the light dome. I read about this guy who was using an IR pass filter.
Okay.
So everything like hydrogen alpha and the red, even more red. I guess it's is that 750? 650. I think it's 650 up
Right, yeah, 64
nanometers.
nanometers.
And supposedly galaxies put off enough IR and infrared spectrum is not so light polluted that he was able to do sort of longer exposures.
You're also going through more atmosphere to it that
That's true.
that
But
there's
I
a lot
was
of
trying to find
factors.
something like because broadband targets are difficult with light
Yeah,
pollution. I don't know
yeah.
if anyone's tried an IR pass filter. You have to have your
Not on
sensor.
galaxies, no. I've tried it on Venus because Venus, it can cut through the cloud bands of Venus.
Hmm.
So that's a good thing you can do for planetary imaging of those inner planets,
Right.
particularly Venus.
Do you have it, Steve? Do you have the nebula or the galaxy booster? Someone I thought had that.
Yeah, I've got an interest in doing some near infrared.
Yeah.
So I do have now a camera that goes out to 1,000 nanometers. And then the GNB Galaxy Nebula Booster
Hmm.
will also go out to that range.
Have you tried it
I
yet?
haven't done anything with it yet.
Yeah, I'm real curious. I'm
How about
looking
like
that same way.
a galaxy like Triangulum? There's a lot of IR, little blobs in there,
Hmm.
and I've tried that with my DSLR camera, and I've taken, I think I stacked like 300, like a ridiculous amount of frames, and there was a considerable difference. I thought it was, diminishing return. I was going to get diminishing returns, but there was actually a considerable amount of difference. And I don't know if I've tried it with that many frames with this new camera now. But what's the bottom range of the 2600 MC Pro? Do you know where the filter stops?
It depends on if you get IR glass or AR glass, I believe.
I mean, what does it come
Well,
with?
the default on that camera is the IR block.
Yeah.
That on the 2600 MC, the one-shot color, that comes with an IR block built in. The 533 does not.
To what's the number? How many nanometers is that?
400 to 700. It's basically a
So
UV IR
700
cut built in.
700 is the cutoff then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, what is it? It's what's the 656 is H off,
Hydrogen alpha. Yeah.
something like that. 650 something.
You have to do kind of what Steve mentioned. And my camera, I purposely got the AR glass, the anti-reflection, and it goes up to about 1,000. It has horrible QE. It's not very
Right.
sensitive, but it might be worth a shot compared to the or the light pollution. I
But
don't know.
most cameras drop off at around 700.
Yeah.
They just can't see above that.
Okay.
Well, my my DSLR, I have it. The IR filter is completely off, so it goes as low as the sensor goes, unless I use. I mean, I use the CCD CLR. IR. What do you call it? The broadband filter, the little clip-on. And I think that is like 700 or something. But wouldn't it be a problem focusing if you wouldn't use that? I mean, how? Because the frequencies are so, wide. You're starting at 400 and you're going down to 700. Would you be able to focus accurately?
Don't know.
Have you guys had a problem with that?
I'll let you know.
I mean, on a refractor, it would be more
Yeah,
of an issue
yeah.
than a reflector,
Yeah.
right? Because the mirror is not sensitive to that.
Right.
A
But
corrector though plate like an SCT would be frequency sensitive, and your probably worst case would be a refractor, because even if it's an APO, an apochromatic is going to still have a sweet spot, and it's not going to be real wide range.
right.
Hmm.
Well, I think
Which
my
is why,
first.
why you use the filters, right, in the first place, to stop the out of focus stuff so you don't blur your
Yeah.
images.
One thing I've noticed is filters are not all the same. I mean, like I bought the same filter from the same company, and it seems like the standards are not, you know, they're not very tight. You know, it says it should allow 656 nanometers in, and I had to return one filter because there's no way it was going that low. I mean, the whole thing was shifted. I think.
I
But
guess
then,
it depends on how tight their process. Some filter companies send the plot with the filter.
Yeah. Yeah.
right,
They're individually tested, but and then the plot comes with the filter. But sure, there's going to be manufacturing variances, because they're just um basically doing like a vapor deposition, right? So, and they're putting all those multi-band filters are made in as sort of like they're interference filters, right? So there's 30, 40 layers of stuff that's
Right.
canceling out and doing everything to let, like, especially a narrowband filter, right? That's a lot of layers. So every layer is going to have tolerance, every process, every part of that process. So there's no surprise that there's variance.
Right. I had
The
to order
old,
one
the old,
twice.
oh, I'm sorry, though.
I was just labeling your point. I mean, I just ordered the same filter twice before I got one that worked. You know.
Yeah, the old Lumicons, like the old hydrogen beta and the O3 filters from Lumicon, the label on there was handwritten in what the passband was and what the width of the filter was.
Each
Oh,
one's
wow.
different.
So every one you bought was a little bit different. They were all in the 90% or something in terms of like 93% in the passband for the O3s. The hydrogen betas were more like mid 80%, stuff like that.
How expensive were they? Are they
They were
really?
$100 a pop for a 2-inch back then.
That's not too bad, actually.
Yeah, it was years ago. So it's probably more like 250 now or something. I don't know what they cost now.
It's
I
still
think I
good for a
paid
narrowband.
I think I paid 180 for the CLS CCD filter, and then for the H alpha, which I had to buy twice, it was a clip-in filter. It was around 200 and something. And then that's right before I bought the 2600 MC Pro, so I can't even use that filter. Well, I
Yeah.
can if I want to use my
Your camera.
my DSLR, but once I switched you guys convinced me to switch to the 2600 MC Pro. I'm not going back to my DSLR unless I do like a wide, field or something where I need a portable.
Yeah. Or a solar eclipse.
Yeah, my first priority now is to get a mount that I'm happy with. Is the other thing I'm concerned about is if I get a mono camera and my mount's not tracking that accurately, does it really make sense to spend all that money on a mono camera if you can't get pinpoint stars? And isn't it going to be because it's so much more resolved? Aren't like the aberration or the problems going to show up even more with the mono camera?
I don't think so.
I mean,
you have effectively more pixels, right? Because you
Sure.
don't have the Bayer mask, but I don't think it's going to exacerbate the problems. The stars are still going to be as irregular as
I have.
It might help the processing software a little bit
Yeah, I just don't
because
know.
it knows how to figure that stuff out now.
I just don't like. What's the point if I'm having football shaped stars? Like
There's
Well,
always something you're going to want in this hobby, I feel like.
yeah.
It doesn't matter how much you spend,
This
some other
hobby,
buddy spent more.
the thing, I was just getting ready to do that, and then my wife wanted a bathroom in the basement. Okay, $13,000 there, right? Then, there's trees keep falling behind my fence, so we got to take them down and replant other, $6,500. And then what else? Oh, when the builder built the house, he didn't put the sliding glass door on correctly, and we just noticed it now when we put the bathroom in. The sheathing was soaking wet, so I got to pay somebody now to remove the back sliding door and put that back. It's always these bills don't stop, So I got to put the.
Welcome to life.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just don't buy a house.
Yeah. Well,
we got a little less than 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
I got a couple quick ones if you guys are cool. I got them with
Sure.
Wayne and Barb, actually.
you want to share some images.
Just real quick.
You know what, John? If you go, I can continue for a little while if you guys want to share images.
I want to do these right here. So this was the one I got with the twin quasar over here. This one quasar.
Oh yeah.
This one I posted.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, that's one object that we're seeing the light. I think it's 412 days apart, something like that.
Cool.
Kind of wild. The other two I didn't show. This is M81, M82.
Oh, nice.
My favorite pair.
Yeah, you were just processing this one. I got a little bit of, I didn't get any red. This is all monochrome. but got a little bit of texture in there. Some wild
Yeah.
stuff going on in M81.
Yeah.
And last one, I stayed up late. This is Markarian's chain from a bad angle. I
No,
already
okay.
had some, I had taken my flats and I didn't want to touch the camera. So I'll post these, but these are the eyes, I believe they're
They're the
called.
eyes, yeah.
These eyes.
And you can see a little bit of stuff going on in there.
You know what? You
Yeah.
should embed Burton Cummings, these eyes.
Yeah, right. And a little PSA, I removed all my noise. So for anyone who's not using RC Astro stuff in PixInsight, like Noise Exterminator and Blur Exterminator, I wrote a free one.
You
You
did?
can, yeah, I got a new video card. I trained the data. I downloaded all the Hubble data, and it'll sharpen your images up. You can run it on Planetary too to sharpen your stuff. I'll drop that link
Impressive,
in the
John.
chat. But yeah, it's a pretty big download. But there's befores and afters. It cleans up a little bit of star shape. It's not as good as Blur Exterminator. I'm still working on it. And if you
Did
get
you
it for
take that
free,
image? Is
yeah,
that
this was like half an hour with no
Wow.
guiding.
Wow, that's
Wow.
cool.
It cleans it up. But if you go down here, I put some stuff for PayPal. Just go in and put 0 and click any of these buttons, and it'll just start downloading for free. So, Xander, you could run this on your it might sharpen your Jupiter up a little bit more. So Tom helped me out. And you can see before after pictures. It's kind of hard to see on this, I'm sure. If you click it, it'll show you before afters.
Very interesting.
Very good, John.
Yeah,
So
Excellent.
there you
John.
go, guys. Free software. Give it a
impressive.
try.
Very impressive, dude.
Thank you so much. I gotta stop sharing now.
That's
I'm
really cool.
cheating. I wrote all my code with my bot. You just go in here and say, write a Python function to smooth an image. And then it starts writing code for you. Tells you what to do.
Which bot is that?
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's kind of like ChatGPT, except I run it locally. And there's a lot of people building these right now. It's off the rails. It's the Wild West. So it's kind of crazy.
That is crazy.
So anyone who works as a software developer, get this and it'll make you look like you're really busy.
Which tool is that so that I can use
I
it?
know it. Talk to me. Cobalt CPP. I stopped sharing.
Our company just got an internal version of ChatGPT, and I'm like, why?
That's sort of what this is. I just run it locally.
I've
Stop sharing.
actually been, we just released it at work, and I've been trolling it at work. I've been asking all sorts of like dumb questions.
It
and
gets stuff
things.
wrong. It gets a lot of stuff wrong. But it did say
Yeah,
that
I asked it about a standard, and it gave me a response, and I asked for more details, and I'm like, that's not from the standard at all. And I'm like,
it'll just lie
what's
to
your
you.
source? And it just sends me a website to like, it's like a generic website of a whole bunch of standards. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
so you just quoted one of the standards, not the right one.
And it claims Cow Sky closed down in 2018 due to financial reasons. But the new platform is called Transit Finder. So that the bot agrees with you, Wayne.
Yeah, it looks similar, but I haven't explored it in detail like I did with CalSky, but it looks like it covers a similar need.
Yeah. It sounds like it's related somewhat to it. So
The Android app I use to find the ISS is ISS transit prediction. I don't know if there is an Apple version for that, but it's pretty accurate.
Well, John, just write a AI program to predict it.
Yeah, there you
There
go.
you go.
I know you can just generate
AI
your
is
own
taking over
pictures.
the world.
You,
Yeah,
you
AI is
guys,
getting real crazy.
you guys were talking about the narrow path width, like with that ISS and the sun. There was a transit. This goes back to, let me see. It goes back to 2004. There was a transit I saw on listed on space weather of the ISS passing in front of the planet Jupiter. And it turned out that when I looked up the data, and this is back in the older days, where this even the planetarium software wasn't that sophisticated, but there was a software package called The Sky, and there was another one called SkyMap Pro, and I used to use the SkyMap Pro because I didn't want to spend the money for the Sky. And you could put in the actual TLA transit elements directly. And I did that, and it looked like this was going to happen up in Allentown. So at the last minute, I decide, Mike Atwell and I called him up and I said, "You want to do something crazy?" And he said, "Sure." So I told him what it was, and he said yes before I even told him what it was. But we wound up going up to Allentown, and I was trying to find this road. I spent about 3 or 4 or 5 hours, like literally trying to figure out where there might be a field on some back road. And if you'd like to see that, I have a quick video of that. It's about a minute.
Yeah, let's look.
Actually, it's a couple seconds. So let me go back to this. So this is the epitome of insane. So let's pull this over here.
Oh, that's
I remember
So
Cal
this
Sky
is-
would predict things like that, but I never.
Yeah,
never took the
I don't
bait.
think this one would. So this was I had put in this is the path. The path width was 80 meters wide. So
Jeez.
if you were out of an 80 meter outside of an 80 meter swath, you would not see this event.
Lay down
So
an Ethernet cable.
we're like
over
driving
the
around, and I find this like garden design place that was closed. And I just pull up my car on the side, and it seemed like it was on the path based on, and this is before, good GPSs and cell phones and all that. So that's a panorama of the site, and literally set up and had a couple seconds. I think we got it set up about 20 seconds before the event took place.
Oh, wow. Talk about cutting it close.
So here's the event in real time.
Whoa.
Now, everything's grossly overexposed. This was even before the 2U cams. This was with like a Vesta or something. There was an old camera Sony made. So that's the ISS coming through, and that's Jupiter, as you can tell with the moons. And I actually overexposed it because I wanted to see the moons. In case it missed, I wanted to see about how far it would miss by. But you can see it goes right through the planet.
That's amazing.
You're within 5 meters.
This is in slow motion.
Wow.
And those video frames, the reason why it's 2 images, it's left, right, left, right, left, right.
That's pretty spot on.
So in this one, there's an audio track. And that interference, I had 2 outputs connected together. This is seconds before this is happening.
Oh, no.
You're trying to fix it.
But you figured it out.
Wait, what's going on here? Something's messed up there. It's a cable or something?
That's Mike.
It's like interference or something? Yeah, because this is trying to play back through that thing.
Yeah, I accidentally in my haste took 2 outputs together from the little video splitter.
You got this one. Okay.
This is crazy.
You can see the 4th moon out at the far right there.
Yeah, your cursor is blocking it.
It's heading for it, man.
So we could see the ISS coming up in the sky.
What time of day was this?
It was right after sunset. Typical ISS stuff.
Right.
Oh, shit.
Wow. I like the audio.
Man,
Holy shit.
I knew this was a great spot. It looked like it went right through. Yeah, it did. It really did.
So there's a little bit of luck involved there, finding the right spot.
Just dead on next to it.
Wow.
That's hilarious.
So
I'll tell you, I'm even glad in the pre-made. I'm even glad you.
What did you say? 80 yards or 80 feet?
80 meters.
Oh, 80
So
meters.
I wound up submitting that to to space weather because they had originally posted this transit. And when they do that, they put your email address. And it turns out, based on a ton of emails, I got a ton of emails because apparently hundreds of people tried this along that path. And as far as I know, I was the only one to get it.
Wow.
And Space Weather published the video back then, and then published a little write-up that I did on it. And then I got an email from the guy who designed the mirror in the Subaru telescope. And he's telling me the reason why the resolution, I shot that with my TV 101. So it was a little 4-inch refractor with this, $20 webcam or $30 webcam hanging off the back. And obviously there were problems, and it was just like right at the nick of time. We got the problem solved about 20 seconds before it happened.
Wow.
And he was going into all this optical theory with the turbulent cells in the atmosphere, and it was perfectly matched with your 4-inch scope because they tend to be 4 inches in diameter, and it was like an incredible experience of just like all the stuff surrounding it besides doing this. And this was literally, I think this is right, we're doing it with pencil and paper and maps and printouts on Microsoft Streets and Trips and GPS coordinates with my little Garmin. So it pays to the point. The message here is it pays to try something, even if it's not like likely. Because Mike Atwell said, Garrett, I was really on the fence about trying to do this because the chances of doing it, of getting it, were nil. He said, Garrett, he said, if you don't go, it's 100% chance you're
Right.
not. He said, so why not? And we're on the phone. I said, let's do it. He said, I'll be at your house in 40 minutes. And I said, I'll be packed up, ready to go. Let's go see if we can find this spot.
I can't
And you
believe
still got
the
a story
timing
20
worked
years
out like
later.
it did.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is
Anyway.
pretty amazing.
Well, thank you guys so much for all the help today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, keep up the good work.
Sandy.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Good job.
I'm gonna head out too, but
Does
you're welcome to
anybody-
keep it going, Lou.
Does anybody
I'm
have
gonna-
any
I'm gonna
other
head out,
images
too.
they want to
There
share?
you go.
We're gonna head out as well.
No one's got anything they want to share? I'm curious. I want to see work.
I got a couple things.
Let's
You got
see.
them, Steve? I'll wait 5 minutes. I want to see Steve's stuff. All
Yeah,
right.
go ahead, Steve.
I spend most of the month getting familiar with StellarMate, so I have more failures than successes. What I got to do is share here, right?
Yeah, you should have permission. And we clicked it. StellarMate. Yeah, we see your desktop.
I just have a few.
Oh, that's cool.
You see it?
Yeah.
So this is NGC 2067 Casper. And that's with the StellarMate controller
Okay.
and the 533
And that's the C6?
C6. Yep,
That's nice. That's a cool object.
Is
it is.
Where is that located about? You know what, I mean,
I know you gotta ask me that.
constellation?
I'm not sure.
What's the number on that?
67.
2067?
2067. It's probably too low for Lou.
Was it near Orion?
Oh, it is in Orion.
Yeah.
So here's another one.
I tried this once. It did not come out nearly as nice as yours.
Okay, what just happened?
Uh-oh.
Why you have a white screen there?
Yeah. I don't know what happened here. What do I need to do?
You want to try to disconnect and reconnect?
I reshare. Just try resharing.
Yeah, that's a cool target. That's not a bad spot too. It's a little bit north of a little bit north of Alnatak. So like the Horsehead Flame area.
Oh, there you
Oh, hey,
go.
we see
Oh,
it.
that's cool.
So this was just last night, actually. And this is NGC 2903 and 2905 is embedded in here someplace.
Oh.
Not quite sure what that is. And this is with the Stellar Mate and my new camera, which is an Ogma. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that.
I have one. That's what I use.
AP08,
I don't have that one. What's the?
8 megapixel. This is
Yeah.
actually a 585. So it goes up into the near infrared.
Yes.
So I'm collecting my stuff.
It's like what the one Stan and I have, except it's cooled.
This is cooled also.
Yeah, yours is cooled. Ours is a planetary, I think.
And this is an L Pro filter with 4 hours of integration. That's kind of cool.
You're very
It
nice.
has pretty small pixels, so you're shooting at you get a lot of detail in there.
I think
That's
it's
nice.
the color that I wanted, but I'm not sure why that is.
And what's the camera again? Whose is it?
I'll find it and post
Ogma.
it. I'll post the link. Hold on.
It's a new company, very relatively new. There's only one place in the U.S. down in Kentucky that sells them for.
It's a US, yeah. Is he in North Carolina or something?
Yes, right.
So at least the one I have, it's a Tube Tech branded out of China, but he has
Oh, this is
team.
a Tube Tech. It's just rebranded.
Yeah, but it comes with some support and some other accessories, and they have their own. They look real sharp. I'll post it in here.
I
What
just
software
Googled
did you
tube
use?
tech and I have a tube bending operation out of Houston, Texas. I'm thinking that might not be it.
No. So I posted the link to Ogma, and that's specifically, I believe, your camera.
Are
It's
you seeing the new image?
Wait, I don't. You're not sharing anymore.
Yeah, I just have
Looks like
the
it
gallery.
looks like a QHY camera.
Oh, here it goes. Something's coming up. There it is. We got a
Oh, yeah.
galaxy.
Yeah.
Is that M10? No, what is the NGC?
So,
Orion.
anybody? So this is NGC 3344, the sliced onion
I see
Oh,
it.
onion.
galaxy.
That's great.
Oh yeah, it does
It's
look like
such a
sliced
And
onion. With
this is
smart-
with that same camera and the Stellar Mate controller.
Where'd you find these objects?
I just searching around Stellarium. I was looking for some new things that would somewhat fill the field of view of this camera without too much cropping. And I just bumped into them.
I like to use telescopias sometimes.
But this is pretty cool. It's
Yeah.
a different shape to it. It looks like there's a couple of other galaxies, small galaxies in this image.
bless you.
Is it like
That's cool. That's a neat looking face-on galaxy.
Yeah, it's a great on. And you even got some of the farther out, like
A little bit
the
of it, yeah,
wispy.
right, the arms.
Yeah.
So that's in Leo.
That's in Leo, yes.
3, 3, 4.
someone else has a picture of this up on cloudy nights, framed almost exactly like you have it, except they're upside down.
It's up high. That's good.
Yeah,
So,
that's cool.
that's all I got.
Very cool. I'm glad you shared those. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
thank you, Steve.
that's so cool. I was wondering about that camera. That's their newest one. They
Yeah, yes.
$649.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any. You posted this on the
they're in the
chat?
chats.
I'm
Yeah,
not seeing it. How come I'm not
8.3
seeing it?
megapixels, 2.9 micron pixels, 1 and 1.2 inches, 0 amp glow, USB 3, USB 2,
Ain't got it.
2 ports to share, DDR3 buffer, 512 megabytes, 4 gigabyte, sufficient for reliable data transfer over 3.0 USB 3.0, full well capacity, 40,000 K, cooling 35 below ambient, 34 degrees C below ambient.
I'm gonna stop the